What would happen to the world if humans and all carnivora were wiped out? Which animals would evolve and become the top predators? What would happen to the herbivores with their predators gone? In this speculative world, our beloved dogs developed a resistance to cancer, almost completely preventing the disease in our canine friends. Scientists extracted the antibodies from dogs and studied them meticulously. They altered the antibodies, creating a vaccine to prevent and even cure cancer in humans. It goes to trial and proves to work on almost all patients it is tested on. Incredible, humans no longer fear the dreaded disease. A decade passes, with all forms of cancer becoming close to non-existent. But then, 13 years later, a new disease takes hold. People start becoming sick and dying. The antibodies in the vaccine have mutated, creating a virus known to scientists as caninovirus, which rampaged through humans and spread back into dogs, and further into all dog relatives throughout the families of the order Carnivora. The virus was merciless and absolute. Humans and Carnivora, all gone, extinct. In this video, we will see what happens to North America in Dog Gone World. I hope to make a series of these videos going through what will happen in each continent, but for now, North America. Humans and Carnivorans are all gone, but note, not all carnivores are necessarily in the order Carnivora. Carnivora is the phylogenetic group which contains most mammal carnivores, including all the relatives of bears, cats, dogs, weasels, raccoons and hyenas, amongst others who once shared a common ancestor. They have all been wiped out by the virus, but there are still some meat eaters. All the reptiles and birds are still there. There are other meat-eating mammals like rats and opossums. So who will take the role of top predator? The animal I think will become top predator isn't one I've mentioned, but I'll get back to that later in the video. As humans die out, nature starts to recolonize our cities, towns, roads and farms, covering our streets, buildings and ploughed fields in grasses, shrubs and trees. Nature has a space it hasn't seen since humans first came to America over 10,000 years ago. Scavengers like eagles, ravens and condors thrive off the bodies of all those who have succumbed to the virus. The large herbivores of North America, bison, moose, pronghorn, mustangs, mountain goats, bighorn sheep, elk and other deer, delight with all the new land and food available to them and lack of predators to hunt them. Free-roaming and feral farm animals including cattle, feral hogs and donkeys known as burros in USA all thrive too. That is until their populations get too big due to the lack of predators and depleted food sources, seeing huge booms and busts in populations. Herbivore populations get too high, vegetation is grazed to non-existence, and many herbivores starve, which then provides an abundance of food for willing scavengers. Herbivore populations are then way down, so vegetation booms, and herbivores thrive for a period, and the cycle repeats. Are there any animals left capable of hunting the large herbivores during this initial period? American alligators, native to southern USA, often prey on feral hogs and deer. American crocodiles, native to Mexico and part of Florida, eat large animals up to the size of cattle. Crocodilians have been known to ambush unexpected animals on land and scavenge, American alligators being one of the species known to hunt on land most often. These behaviours would likely increase with humans and other top predators gone. Burmese pythons, which have an ever-increasing invasive population in Florida, can kill and eat fully grown deer and other animals of a similar size. They've even been known to prey on alligators in Florida, although this goes both ways. So, these reptiles can prey on large herbivores, although not animals the size of adult bison, moose or mustangs. The only issue for them is they are adapted to the tropics and can survive in cold temperatures. Their populations would likely grow exponentially, and their ranges would expand hugely without human persecution and an abundance of prey. Although it would take thousands of years for them to adapt to the cold and take over all of North America, even if there were no other contenders, and there are. Golden and bald eagles are capable of preying on deer and pronghorn fawns, piglets and lambs. There are even rare occurrences of adult sheep and deer being killed by eagles. Though these behaviours are rare, with an abundance of prey and lower risk of their kills being stolen now that the former top dogs are gone, this behaviour would increase. They'd get good at killing large prey, and over time would get bigger and better equipped as a result. But again, it'd be millennia before they could take down the large adult herbivores. Great horned owls and peregrine falcons and other American birds of prey can take down animals as large as jackrabbits, and would likely do well in the post-caninovirus world, but aren't as well equipped as the eagles when it comes to taking down large prey. We'll see later where the raptors end up in the race to be top predator. What mammals are there with a chance to become top predator? Rats, a highly intelligent, adaptable animal that would do well initially with an abundance of carrion and leftover food from humans, but over time would have to find other ways to survive. They would move in the shadows and under the cover of night, doing their best to avoid birds of prey. Rats are known to prey on smaller rodents, amphibians and bird chicks, and this behaviour would become all the more common now that carnivorans are gone. On 2 occasions on other continents where there were no mustelids filling the niche otters and mink fill elsewhere, other animals evolved to fill it. A rodent in Australia called the rakali or Australian otter filled the niche, and an Afrotherian called the giant otter shrew took the mantle in Africa. Rats are capable of swimming for 3 days straight and can hold their breath for several minutes underwater at a time. After a few millennia, rats would likely do much the same as the Australian otter and otter shrew did before them, and become the American rat otter. The Virginia opossum is an omnivore that scavenges carcasses and hunts rodents, amphibians and other small animals. In this changed world, very few predators of opossums remain. Great horned owls, golden and bald eagles can hunt them, and of course in the warmer regions of southern USA and Mexico, the crocodilians can prey on them, but all their mammalian predators have gone. In much of North America, they'll now be one of the contenders to evolve into top predator, much as their Australian possum cousin evolved into many predators like thylacine, known as the Tasmanian wolf, thylacoleo, known as the marsupial lion, quolls, known as Australian native cats, and Tasmanian devils, which fill a similar role to large mustelids like honey badgers and wolverines. But can the opossum get there, or will there be too much competition from elsewhere? There are 9 million feral hogs in the USA, and also invasive populations in Mexico and Canada. Feral hogs in America are hybrids of introduced wild boar and pigs that escaped or were set free from farms. Even without wild boar being in the mix, pigs very quickly revert to their wild form when set free. Wild boar are known as the hyenas of Europe, as they are one of the main scavengers there, and they have very hardy guts, capable of eating things that would make other animals sick. Wild boar are of course omnivores and rooted in the ground, eating lots of nuts and tubers. They also eat any animals they can get their mouths on, like rodents, amphibians and ground nesting birds. Deer mothers often leave their fawns in a hiding place, but when wild boar find these fawns, they gladly eat them. One wild boar in India attacked and ate a bonnet macaque, a monkey that weighs more than twice as much as a domestic cat. There is at least one recorded case of a sounder of wild boar hunting a healthy adult female chital deer and catching and eating it. Chital are a medium-sized deer, similar in size to the mule deer and white-tailed deer of America. Wild boar are the most intelligent animals in the world after apes, dolphins and corvids. With their intelligence and willingness to hunt, they'd likely make this a more common behaviour, especially in the winters when vegetation is depleted and there are lots of hungry herbivores struggling to get by. It'd likely be young, weak or injured animals they'd be hunting in the initial stages, but could they develop it? Let's move up 100,000 years and see what's happened. Who are the top predators? Have the large herbivores changed? For thousands of years the herbivores had little evolutionary pressure from predators. Their main pressures came from competition for habitat and food, so they found niches across North America that were there to be filled. The vast grassland prairies are now home to thronging herds of plains bison, mustangs, elk, hardy cattle and pronghorns amongst others. Bison in particular are now even larger than they were previously, and their horns span wider. They started as the biggest animal on the continent, and this was useful as it meant they could bully other animals out of their way and get to the prime grazing spots. The woodlands are now home to sounders of wild boar, forest bison, moose and other species of deer. Moose have become even taller as their height helped them to reach food that others were unable to reach. The deserts of USA and Mexico now have small herds of burros, heat-adapted cattle breeds that were already in the region, and horses, fulfilling a similar role to the feral horses of the Namibian desert or the Brumby horses and scrub cattle in Australia. Burros or donkeys are descended from the wild ass native to the deserts of Africa, and there were thousands of them living in Death Valley, California before the canino virus took hold, and they have done well in the years since. The once bustling hotels and casinos of Las Vegas are now nothing more than a shelter for animals, protecting them from the harsh desert climate. The mountains and rocky areas of the continent are now dominated by bighorn sheep and mountain goats. The Arctic regions of Canada and Alaska have herds of reindeer, bison, hairy cattle, horses, moose and other deer species. The herbivores lived with little predation for a long period, but the predators have grown in stature and ability, with many predator niches there to be filled. Rats have become adept predators of small animals. Without mustelids, cats and foxes there to hunt them, their predatory instincts and abilities improved, and they diversified and filled the niches left by weasels and ferrets on land, and otters and mink in the water. Opossums too evolved, diversified. They filled the niche of middle-sized predators left vacant by bobcats, foxes, badgers and others. Not quite as fearsome as those animals yet, but are now skilled predators in their own right. The various opossum descendant species have evolved better hunting traits like speed, agility, retractable claws and strong jaws. The golden and bald eagles have been in a battle for king of the sky for millennia now, and have grown bigger, though not yet as big as the Haast's eagle of New Zealand, the largest ever eagle. They're also better able to kill large prey than before, perching atop the crumbling skyscrapers of Manhattan and Chicago, before swooping down on unexpected prey as large as adult mustangs and eating them where they lay, but they are not yet able to kill the biggest herbivores like adult bison, as getting at their throats is too difficult. American crocodiles and alligators have expanded their ranges hugely into much of Mexico and USA, getting quite far north, especially in the summer months when temperatures are warmer, but they haven't yet evolved to withstand the cold temperatures of northern USA and Canada. The alligator in particular has become better able to move on land, faster with longer legs, catching unexpected prey and stealing kills from other predators, but they are a long way away from being truly adapted to land like their extinct cousins, the Planocranidae, which thrived on land after the dinosaur extinction. Burmese pythons too have continued growing in size and are taking down bigger prey as they grow. They're getting up to lengths of nearly 25 feet or 7.5 meters, though some way away from being as big as the extinct Titanoboa, which grew to 42 feet in length. Before we get on to the real kings of the post-canino virus world, if you've made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and like the video to help the channel grow. So, who are the top dogs? Feral hogs have separated almost into two different species. Normal wild boar continued eating high-calorie vegetation and scavenging carcasses, but the other group of feral hogs have honed their hunting skills and become specialist carnivores, have become quicker and more agile, using their intelligence and pack mentality to take down prey. They started with scavenging and hunting the weak animals and worked their way up the food chain, breaking up herds of mustangs, elk or bison, panicking them into running and exposing the weak animals, much as wolves or hyenas do today. These hog wolves have become the top predators of the plains and forests in most of North America, especially in areas where alligators and crocodiles can't steal their kills. They now look somewhere between the wild boar and the extinct ungulate carnivores like Andrewsarchus, which were the top predators 40 million years ago. Some of the herbivores like adult bison and moose aren't really preyed upon by any of the predators, similar to rhinos, hippos and elephants in Africa. Healthy pronghorns are still far too fast to worry about these new hog wolves, but do have to be wary of eagles from above. The arms race is on, predators are back. They may not be as skilled yet as the mountain lions, wolves and bears that were wiped out, but the herbivores have something to worry about. If you'd like to see what North America would look like 1 million years post-canino virus, let me know in the comments. I hope to do videos on what has happened in the other continents as well. Let me know which one you'd like to see first. Thanks for watching.